inspired by Michael Symon, who gave a great lesson on how to make paella on Worst Cooks of America. Now, if the worst cooks in America can make this, so can I. So I'm going to learn it right here in front of you. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, ring the bell so you get notified every single time I make a video. I'm preparing to make the base of this, which is a sofrito. A lot of people buy sofrito, but according to Michael Symon, the best way to do it is to go ahead and make it yourself. So I'm going to prep up these vegetables, put them aside because they're going right into a food processor and make our lives a lot easier. Right here what I have is a red pepper. I chose an Anaheim pepper, Spanish onion, some garlic, and I have some preserved cilantro that I had frozen that I'm reconstituting right now. What I'm going to do is clean these up a bit and chop them roughly, and we'll be right back. Now what I have here is a whole red onion. Even though the recipe calls for half, we do like onions here, so we're going to go ahead and roughly chop that, and directly into the food processor it goes. This is a red sofrito, so I have a red bell pepper. I've already washed this just to take the top off. He leaves the seeds in, but I'm going to pop out the main portion of them. And again, just a rough chop. Onions don't make my eyes water, but peppers do. And again, right in. And this is an Anaheim pepper, which will get the same exact treatment as the red. Again, just the main chunk of seeds out. We're not getting extra precise. I chose Anaheim because it's low on the Scoville scale. We're not giant fans of spice in this house. But this is actually cilantro that I kept from my garden last year. This is 5 cloves of garlic that I just peeled the paper off of. Everything's incorporated, and it was just that simple. Next thing we're going to do is move on to prepping the tomatoes. Normally for this you would use 1 large beefsteak tomato, but that's not what I received from Misfits Market, so this is what we're going to do. This is a combo of Michael Symon's and then Alton Brown's method. Everybody says to do this, cut it in half, but this is where it's Alton Brown. I'm going to squeeze out the stuff from the inside of this tomato, but I'm reserving the juice. And this is where it gets neat, because you don't want the skin, but you want all the good stuff that's in the tomato. So you want to take a big grate on here. We're actually going to grate the tomato. I might have to get my grating glove. Let's not get injured. The point is to get all of the deliciousness out of here, but not the skin. And what we're left with is a tomato puree. Now I'm going to do the other 2 tomatoes, and we'll come back when that's complete. Now that we have that grated, that's actually all of those tomatoes is going right into the juice that we saved while we were squeezing out the seeds. And again, it's Alton Brown that says to squeeze out the seeds, and I agree. I don't like to find tomato seeds in my food. There's still a couple in here, but it's nothing crazy. So we're going to set that puree aside, and I'm going to put this disgusting glove in the wash. I am making a chicken and scallop paella. So first things first, this is slightly under a pound of chicken. You notice I've changed cutting boards. This is a red cutting board because I like to indicate the red cutting board is for meat. I'm going to cut these into, shall we say, serviceable chunks. You know what, maybe get a meat knife. The meat knife is thinner, and as you can see, it's more, designed to cut through meat. In this pot, I actually have chicken broth, homemade chicken broth, and here I have a cast iron pan. I do not have a paella pan, so I'm going to improvise and use my favorite cast iron pan. The thing is I want to pre-cook the proteins. So into this pan right away, I am putting that chicken, And I'm sure you've seen it before, but I am a direct seasoner. So this is smoked paprika, ground cumin, salt, and ground pepper. Move that around. And what I'm going to do is cook this chicken off to only cook it about 3/4 of the way, which if I had to venture a guess, I would say that this was 3/4 of the way. I'm going to pull this out of the pan. Better. And now I'm going to add a knob of butter and wash my hands. And now we're going to cook the scallops. I bought 10 because scallops are $20 a pound, so but who doesn't love a nice scallop? I'm not seasoning these at all. I want you to know that. Let's get them all flat side down. The only seasoning in here is what was already in the pan, and then that knob of butter that I added. Well, now that these scallops all look beautiful, we're going to take them out of the pan and put them aside. It is time to add that homemade sofrito to the pan. Looks like some of my garlic didn't break up. Also adding those grated tomatoes. And a heavy pinch of salt. And now we're going to cook this until the liquids have evaporated. Well, while this reduces a little bit, I'm going to clean up some of the mess that was made in the kitchen just by getting this portion ready. Okay, most of this liquid is gone. What we are looking for now is for this sofrito to slightly caramelize. All right, so the next step here is we're going to add about a tablespoon, well, it's supposed to be exactly a tablespoon, but we know me and I don't measure, a tablespoon of tomato paste. That about does it. Okay, and now we are using our boreal rice. It is a risotto rice. It is also a short grain rice. This is the Carolina package. It happens to be 16 ounces, so it is exactly the amount of rice that we need for this recipe. What we're going to do is basically toast this while mixing it in to that beautiful sofrito. We don't have to heavily toast it. Just like warm it up and blend it. Now the idea is to start cooking this rice. We are going to add some more cumin and some more paprika. Here's the paprika. This is about half a teaspoon. Here's the cumin. And that's the same. We're looking at a half teaspoon. And again, my cumin does not want to come out of the shaker. Of course, if I popped the lid, I'd get way too much. We are also, at this point, going to add the chicken back in. This is a cup of white wine, which will serve to deglaze the bottom of this pan. So we're going to blend this together. Okay, that chicken is in, the wine is in. We're going to slowly add half of the stock. Now, I have a quart of chicken stock over here. So maybe a paella pan would have been better just because it's all got to fit. But in the meantime, we are definitely doing all right over here. I need to put more in there, but I have to incorporate this before I try. You can see this pan is very full. I want it nice and evenly distributed because I need this rice to cook evenly. There, that's about half. And now we're going to leave this undisturbed for a little while to finish up. We're about halfway through a 10-minute cook time where I'm supposed to let it sit and simmer. and what Michael Symon refers to as a blurble. So I want you to see this is actually a little bit on the high side, so I'm going to bring it down a notch. I do tend to forget that cast iron is really good for pushing the heat through, but we're looking for a slower bubble than this so that the liquid leaves. In 5 or 6 minutes, we're actually going to come and taste to see if the rice is softening. If not, we will leave it a little longer. But at that time, I will probably add the scallops if this rice is soft enough. Now, you do not want to disturb the bottom because evidently the key to a good paella is a very nice crust that forms on the bottom. So we're just going to gently lift off some of this rice and taste it. And it is still a little hard. So what's going to happen now, add some more of this broth. Evidently, I'm not good at pouring. We're gonna let that cook a little bit longer. And my alarm is going off to let me know that someone's coming home. We're gonna let that cook just a little bit longer and try to soften up this rice. Well, you can see I still have a lot of liquid here, but I'm going to check this rice anyway. Okay, that is starting to soften up. I feel like in a few minutes it will be ready, so I'm going to go ahead and add the scallops. All right, time for the next check. Again, we're taking it gently off the top because we don't want to disturb any crust. And it is cooked perfectly. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it off of the heat. I mean all the way off of the heat. Remember I spilled the broth? Well, the pan got stuck. So we're going to slide this off to the side, let it cool all the way down, and find something to do about cleaning that spilled broth that's now cooked onto my stove. We're going to let this sit about 10 minutes. Okay, it's time to serve this up. And remember, I'm looking for a crust on the bottom, so you're going to be right here with me finding out if that actually happened. And we're going to turn it over, and there it is, the crust. It's indicating that I did something right. Now, I've been tasting this all along, but I haven't tasted it completely cooked, so let's see what we have here. All right, that is delicious. A nice tomato base. The rice still has a little bit of a crunch to it, but that's okay. It's not chewy, you know? The scallops are done perfect. Thank you for joining me on Cooking for Real today, where I learned while you watched how to make paella. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10 on the difficultness scale, I'm going to give this a 5. It's not that any of the steps were difficult, it's just that there were so many, and they all required a certain level of precision. I hope you give it a try. I would love to see your creations. Take a picture, send it to me. Maybe we'll put it up on the Facebook page. Very interested to see how you do when you are also cooking for real.